Whew. I'm live. Ugh. Fix my eyeballs. All right. Yeah, this one's unannounced again. So if you're subscribed to my channel, hit that notification bell. So when I go live, you'll get the notification and y'all could jump on and ask questions. I don't have super chats and stuff set up yet, but I do look at the chat and can answer questions for you guys as you have them. So good opportunity to get like some things, answers on the air, get questions answered, on the air without having to necessarily do a full consult with me or any of those things. So a bit ill prepared today, but we're just going to talk. All right. Good. Sal got the notification. That's awesome. Sometimes YouTube will like unsubscribe people or unnotify. I don't know why that happens, but it can happen. So just be aware of that. And, if you notice that that bell isn't hit, then go ahead and, make sure that you have that. ApexMindset.net. Go head over there if you need to book a consult with me. I've been pretty much full all week. I had to bump some clients into next week. And, people had, tried to get on and couldn't get a time slot with me. So that's a good problem to have, though. We're solving a lot of problems for guys, but I'm usually not booked solid Monday through Friday like that. So it's been a challenge to even prepare some of the videos that we have going on to give you guys, some good information and content, but it's been good. See, we got a question that rolled in. When spinning plates or dating lightly, how often do you contact the girls and go out? Just curious what you think. How much is normal contact? Daily, every few days? So that's a good question. How often do you contact the girls, right? So you're in a casual relationship. How often does that contact happen? So here's how it should go. Once you start hanging out with her, so let's say you have the text banter required to get the first date or the hangout. That first hangout is what has been termed a sniff test. Right? So especially if you're a high value guy, you'll have a lot of women after you. Okay, so but even if you're not that guy, you kind of want to make sure that you're not bringing a toxic crazy into your life. So you're going to want to sniff test her a little bit. Go someplace. I know it might be difficult with some people still are under lockdown restrictions, but depending on what you can do to be able to meet somewhere in public is my suggestion versus her coming right over for the lay. Just because I've had a number of experiences from other men where they they bring a girl over, they bang her. And then next thing you know, there's what sounds like some Me Too allegations. All right. Like when she gets buyer's remorse or whatever, he finds out she has a boyfriend and maybe the boyfriend is looking for him. I've had that, I've had situations where guys have brought a girl over and they've tried to get money for abortions later, which is a scam. I found out I'm pregnant and, I need you to send me $1,000 so we can take care of this. And, so there's a lot of things that can happen with crazy women that can be pretty damaging. And so you don't want to just bring a girl over necessarily until you've had a chance to vet her out a bit and see if she's not that person. Right. And so that's why meeting somewhere in public is good. But either way, so you're seeing a girl, back to the question, you're seeing a girl or whatever. It should be just to set up the next date once you get things going, So after you hang out with her, right, drop her off or whatever, let's say sex happens, whatever, even if sex doesn't happen, you're not just like texting her and calling her and bantering with her. What you want to do is you want to condition her to be getting your time, energy, and effort in person. Okay. Now, what might happen is she might reach out to you, and that's cool. She reaches out to you. That's fine. Respond according to your own timeline. A lot of guys try to play games with this, but you don't need to play a game here. You just need to be on your own mental point of origin. You see, if you're a busy person and you are doing things to better your life and you're going to have a lot going on. So like, for example, if a girl were to text me right now, I'm doing a video, I'm not going to respond to her text right now. And then afterwards I got consults. So I'm not going to like, she's not going to get a response from me usually till I get a break or much later after that. So if a girl were to text me this, this morning or whatever, you know what I mean? She probably isn't going to hear from me till later this afternoon. That's just because I'm busy. That's not because I'm playing a game. And so the best way to do it is to actually have things going on in your life. Now, if you don't, then think about, well, when would I text this person back if I had things going on in my life? And then that's when you do it. But better would be, if you don't have things going on in your life, get things going on, be at the gym, do research for your next career move, all of those things. And then don't interrupt those things just to text a girl back. Unless, of course, she catches you in a moment where you could text back right away. Yeah, you see? So then what ends up happening is you create this situation where sometimes you text her back right away, sometimes you don't. And it's according to your schedule and what you're doing. You're never stopping what you're doing just to text a girl. You see what I mean? You feel like texting her back in the middle of the night because she texted you at, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night and it's during the week. Go ahead and text her back. Who cares, or wait till tomorrow. You do what you feel like. What that does is it creates a inconsistent behavior and unpredictable behavior, which is the exact thing that you would want. So when people do the games of, well, how often should I text her? Should I wait 3 days or, she texted me. So should I wait? How long should I wait to respond back? I think it was Roosh, if I'm not mistaken, had some like weird formula where he would wait. Like if a girl didn't text him back for 3 hours, then he would wait longer than 3 hours. Like it would be like 6 hours or something. You know what I mean? Just to make sure she was chasing him. I don't think that's valid. I think this is BS. Okay. She chases you when your attention is elsewhere. So if your attention is just elsewhere, you're going to have sporadic behavior. Sometimes you're not texting her for 6 hours. Sometimes it's not till the next day or even a couple days. Sometimes it's right away. And so that's as far as, the when part of it, according to your schedule. But the point of texting her back always is to just have that normal interaction with the chick and then set the next date up. So let's say you hang out with her, you drop her off on a Thursday and she texts you Sunday or whatever, or Saturday afternoon. Well, let's say she texts you Saturday afternoon. Do you have things going on Saturday? If you don't, you probably should. Okay. And so maybe you're not texting her back right away on a Saturday. Maybe Sunday you hit her back and say, yeah, was busy doing some stuff yesterday. How are you? Let's say you have a little conversation. She texts you back and then you're like, whatever, whatever little small talk. And then you're like, hey, I really had a good time with you Thursday. Let's do it again. When are you free? And then you set the next date up. And that's how it should go. It should go where she's reaching out to you and then you're setting the next date up. Now, she might not reach out to you, okay? And that's okay too. You just let a few days pass because you're busy, you got things going on, and you're not chasing her, and you're not making her your mental point of origin. And you just text her in a few days and say, hey, let's do it again, right? Now, it might not be your opener. You might just give her a text. Let's say that Thursday encounter happened. Let's say that you text her around a Monday or Tuesday and say, hey, hey, how was the weekend? Right? Normal thing to ask. Weekend was good, blah, did this and the other. How about you? Remember, you're always dropping DHVs when you do stuff. So a lot of times I get guys in consults and guys are doing things, but they don't think they're that interesting. So like the guy's like, well, I just went for, a bunch of hikes and, I got on my bike and I just did like 4 hours on my bike, but it wasn't really that interesting. And then I went out and got some drinks with some friends on Saturday or whatever, but it really was kind of a dead weekend. Okay. But what'd you do though? You got on a bike, you did some fitness stuff, you hit some trails, you can present that in a way that's valuable, right? So if this chick asks you, how was your weekend? You respond with, yeah, it was great. Got to hit some trails on the bike, got some drinks Saturday, had an awesome time. How about you? You see what I'm saying? You present it as a DHV. A lot of you guys get, I don't know, you just don't see your own value, I think, and you don't see the value of the things that you're doing. and you don't present those things in a way that's positive, right? Where a girl would say, oh, well, this guy's having a good time. I want to be along for that ride. See, if you're not an interesting person who does things and has great times when he does them, girls aren't going to want to hang out with you, right? So you demonstrate that during these conversations. But anyways, that's another tangent too. Back to the frequency of texting. You just do it as if and whenever you want. And I know that that's like not, I know a lot of you guys want a formula, but I'm telling you that formulas generally fail. Formulas will prevent a guy sometimes from over texting or getting himself in trouble. But I think you guys are smart enough, if you're watching my stuff, that you're not going to over text a girl, right? You're not going to text her good morning after the date and text her several times during the day. I mean, you should be smart enough at this point not to do that. And if you're not, that's new information for you. Well, now you have it. Okay. So you always ask yourself, am I texting this girl from a position of submission or a position of power? In other words, am I craving and wanting her attention? And is that why I'm texting her? Or am I texting her because I feel like it, because I want to get her out, let's get her out on another date or whatever, or because I'm responding to her. You know what I mean? Or I found a funny meme and thought she would appreciate it, so I sent the funny meme, right? There's a difference, you know what I mean? And so when you're doing it from a place of neediness or submission, that's when you're going to over text. That's when you're going to do attention seeking behaviors in text. And it's not going to be, it's going to come across as weak and it's going to turn her off. All right. So you always make sure you're just doing it from that position of power. And the best way to do it is, once you guys have already started hanging out, to mainly only reach out to her first when you're setting up the date. That's the safest way. If you need a rule to follow, that's the way it is. So what does this look like? You're spinning a plate. Let's say you've gone out with her 3 times 2. That's another thing. If you need another rule, be 1/3, 2/3. You know what I mean? Is pretty good. Where you're responding about 1/3 of, you're initiating like 1/3 at a time, where she's initiating or reaching out to you 2/3 of the time. That's a good way to not get yourself in trouble too. So these are all just ways to not get yourself in trouble. But really, as you get better with women, you'll calibrate it according to the girl. The rules are just rules, you know what I mean, that you can break or follow accordingly once you get better skill sets. So just the key is to not over text and save a lot for that date. Keep that tension. When she's texting you back and forth and you can tell whether you're in a high in a conversation or in a lull in a conversation. You get to that high, then that's when you go ahead and break contact. Do you know what I mean? Or you get the agreement for the next meetup. Hey, so she's talking to you. She's LOLing and laughing and, whatever. And she's having this good conversation. She's responding immediately. You're responding immediately. That's a high in the conversation. And then you're like, hey, tomorrow, you have tomorrow off, right? Why don't you come over or whatever this time? Oh yeah, sure. I'll come over tomorrow. Awesome. All right. Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow. Just come directly to the house, shoot her an address. You know what I mean? If she doesn't have it or whatever, just come directly to the house and we'll figure out what we're doing from there. Gotta go. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, sure. That sounds awesome or whatever. You see, you get the confirmation, you set definite date, definite time, and set those logistics up. If it's more than 48 hours out, then you do some sort of a reach out just to make sure you're confirming. Less than 48 hours out, then no need to confirm and just set it up. And so that's how your texting should go. Hopefully that makes sense. Long answer. Reason it's a long answer is because human beings are complex. All right. And so following just a set of things, but eventually you want to be able to break away from we're here to learn advanced game, and we're here to take you to the next level, not just, playing pickup games or whatever. You know what I mean? Not just learning a bunch of rules and following the rules or whatever, right? We want you to get the concepts behind it. It's not even the concepts behind it, but we want you to get the social awareness. You learn to be aware and calibrated of where that girl's emotions are, so you can take those emotions to higher levels. And that's what creates that genuine desire and that attraction. All right. So that's what we're trying to do here. That's what you guys are working on. A set of rules by themselves ain't going to get you there. So yeah, that kind of answers it. You text when you feel like it, but focus on setting the next dates up. And that's really mainly where the focus should be. If she's reaching out to you a lot and texting you a lot, that's cool. She should be doing it more than you, though, right? So if she's not texting you a lot, that's okay. Then you're sticking to just setting dates up then, or setting up hangouts. All right. Don't be reaching out to her to try to seek attention from her, because again, that is a position of submission, not a position of leadership or dominance. Right. So that answers that question. All right. Working in the backyard, listening to me. Well, good. That's awesome, isn't it? All right. Any suggestions on how to remove doubt that a 50-year-old can pick up a 25-year-old? Well, doubt on yourself or doubt from the rest of society? I'm not sure what you mean. I'm going to tell you this, man. I got guys. I had to delete some guy, actually block him from my YouTube because he's a troll and I don't care. If you're a troll, I'm just going to kick you off. I just don't care. You know what I mean? This is actionable advice for people that want to have good relationships in their lives and have better interactions with women, and the few women that come on, better interactions with men, right? And of course, how to achieve excellence and, mental conditioning too, right? That's what we do here at Apex Mindset. I don't care about trolls and I don't care about drama. So if somebody's bringing it, I'm usually just getting rid of them, right? I had to get rid of a guy because he was like really mad and upset. Younger girls don't want to bang older guys. Like, man, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, I don't know why that's so triggering. I imagine a guy like that's probably in his mid-30s and, has some girlfriend that doesn't like him very much and doesn't get very much frequent access to sex, doesn't have girls that are younger looking at him and thinks, oh, like I must be lying to people on YouTube. Look, I got plenty of guys that come to me and their SMVs are all over the map and they're mentally blocked. They're like, man, I don't, they're intimidated by having like some 25-year-old girl want to hook up with them. And they're 45 or 50 or whatever. That idea intimidates them. Well, we work through that stuff in a session. But what I can tell you here is that I have people doing it all the time. It's just we could say an objection to overcome, but not really. It's not really a hard one. If you're fun and high value and she's not embarrassed to be around you and she can fall into that paradigm, she'll be with you all day. It's just women are attracted to older guys, and it's just part of it. They're also attracted to younger guys too, don't get me wrong. But what turns them off about younger guys, especially nowadays, is the younger generation is weak, right? There's a lot more betas, a lot more people who are not good at leading relationships, who are under 30 right now as men. We'll say men in general actually are pretty terrible at leading a relationship and showing up and being the alpha guy, but especially with the younger ones. So even in youthfulness isn't a genetic marker, okay? Physical prowess and good demonstrating of good genetic markers for men are like, physical stature, even height, voice. All right. See how my voice is? All right. Having that knowing how to, I'm not trying to make my voice do anything special right now, but learning how to deliver a deeper voice, it's demonstrations of good hormone profile, testosterone, right? Symmetrical face. Like these are all things that are attractive to a woman, not your youthfulness necessarily. Now, if you look old and decrepit, and because you're not in good physical condition, that's going to make it hard for you to get a 25-year-old. But if you're in good physical condition, it happens all day. Okay. And even if you're not in the greatest physical condition, there's things we can do to improve that and overcome it with your style and your presentation and your confidence. So I don't know what else to say about it other than that. It's happening all the time, and it happens with my clients all the time. And we work on, I get it to happen. Like, I don't know. It's pretty consistent actually. So it's just a myth to think that a younger girl wouldn't go for an older guy. You know what I mean? And if you just understand logically, that's a myth and start looking for those examples out in the world, maybe that'll help change your mind. Right. But if you're still running into internal barriers and anxieties behind it, that's something we would do like probably through hypnotherapy or some sort of guided meditation work to overcome those limiting beliefs. All right. So do women have a mental point of origin? Yes, they do all the time. Actually, women are solipsistic. So they're almost always on their mental point of origin. In some ways we could learn from women and female solipsism. Okay. Now, I mean, we want to be able to have empathy and crawl into another person's brain and figure out how they're thinking and what their paradigms are. That's something we want to be able to do, but we don't want to lose that ability. Yeah. That being said, though, being on your mental point of origin is something that women are very good at, and we could learn something from that. Guys are the ones that tend to start to sacrifice their needs and wants for somebody else and for a woman and for a job and for this thing or that thing. And they find themselves being used as a tool, right? Being that beta provider, being that plow horse, right? Being used as a tool for society, being used as a stepping stone for some woman's goals. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the negative aspect of it. And so guys need to be better at setting standards and being on their own purpose and goals. Not only is that attractive to women, but that's going to help lead a better life as a man, all right? Independent of women. And so mental point of origin is something guys need to usually learn, whereas women already have it. And let's think about why that is. So if a woman is sole purpose is taking care of herself first, then that means she takes care of herself first and her kids go right along with that, right? And then those kids survive. So for the survival of babies, all right, women are wired to take care of themselves first and then babies. And sometimes they'll sacrifice themselves for the babies too. So when women sacrifice themselves, or not say women will never self-sacrifice, definitely not saying that, but we're talking about an instinctual wiring, okay? If a woman instinctually sacrifice, her instinct would be to sacrifice herself or give up her imperative for her children, but she won't do that for a guy, all right? She won't do that, not usually, unless there's some payoff for her to do it. Like when she gives up her imperative to go with the alpha best genetic option, for example, that's because there's a payoff there. You see what I'm saying? That exceeds her from wanting to stick around and do something different. So women tend to be on their mental point of origin in that sense. They're wired for it. Whereas guys are wired to either lead a tribe or group of men, to supply resources and protection, or to sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the tribe. And that's where we end up with that alpha beta dynamic. Okay. The subservient, less genetically viable men are wired to self-sacrifice for their tribes. Because think about it. If you self-sacrifice, you weren't directly taking care of the babies. You were preserving resources for those babies, or you were, offering, by sacrificing yourself, those babies could survive, right? More likely. So that's where men tend to be more self-sacrificing, and women will get mad about that. But how many women are getting into dangerous jobs? How many women are, actually putting themselves in harm's way for the greater good of society? And how many women are wired to actually commit suicide, right? I shouldn't have used that word because YouTube's not going to ban my video. I don't know why we can't say that word, which is, we should be able to have an open discussion about that. But I guess that goes right into, again, society and social conditioning not being very productive in helping men out, right? Men will say the word self-select 5 times more than women. So that has to do with an innate wiring. When a man doesn't feel valuable, the drive to sacrifice himself or even take himself out of the gene pool so resources can consolidate for the rest of the tribe happens. So back to solipsism, back to mental point of origin. We talk about it a lot for men because that is what is requirement for being an alpha man, for being a leader and leading a better life for yourself. All right. Women really don't need that lesson as much. In fact, if anything, a lot of times women need lessons in empathy for people other than their children. I hate to say it, but it's true. But it's a virtue in a sense. Not that solipsism is always a virtue, but at least being able to take care of yourself first, that benevolent self-interest, I think is a virtue. I think that's a good thing. So let's see, what else do we got? Like the content, keep it up. Hell yeah. Marty, we'll see if they YouTube picked up the S word. Paul, advice on getting over my fear of rejection. Got my new house sorted in town and I want to get comfortable cold approaching every single hot girl. We'll really like your help, buddy. All right, cool, man. Well, frame course is going to drop at some point. I'm running into time constraints on getting it out there. So, but it'll happen eventually. So take that course, book a consult. I'm not just trying to grift my services, man, but I help guys with the approach thing all the time. But things that you can do on yourself is mentally rehearse approaching. Okay, so do that through meditation, get in a meditative state, and then visualize and mentally rehearse approaching a girl and having a successful outcome. Rehearse how you do it, her mannerisms, what you would say. The more detailed the rehearsal, the better. Okay, when you can rehearse that outcome, when you can rehearse the actions, it becomes trained. All right, now you're actually training what you would do. All right, and so you train it, and then you'll have less anxiety going to execute it. What'll actually happen though is you'll still have the anxiety, right? It'll still be there, but you'll fall to the training, which is what you visualized 20, 30, 50 times in your head in practice, instead of falling to something different, stuttering your words, or, not knowing how to respond because your brain shifts into anxiety mode, right? Fight or flight kind of a mode. And so you lose, all logic or whatever. That's less likely to happen with training. So when we train our responses and we visualize that circumstance, and even rehearsing with somebody, might be a little weird having your guy do a girl voice or whatever, but maybe, if you have a friend or have somebody, just you can have them verbally take you through the rehearsal. Maybe look in the mirror and practice saying what you're going to say. Oh, fucking shit. People blowing my shit up. So yeah, back to it though. So rehearsing will help you get over that stuff. Wonder if I have to do an intermission. I hope not. Anyway, so we're getting to the end of the time here. So let me talk about pivoting real quick. So pivoting is a skill set that you need to develop with conversations with women. Okay, it's part of this is a question that happened earlier this week. It's part of the push-pull, okay, that happens with women. I'm not going to have any text examples for you guys today. It's just too much going on right now, but we can discuss pivoting anyway. So 2 ways to pivot. One is you find a conversation deadening out about some topic. So let's say you're talking about I don't know, are you from the area? Yeah, I'm from here. Cool. Like, what do you like to, start talking about the area a little bit. And then maybe you're going to pivot to something else, right? So you find her answers sort of becoming more one word or whatever. Then you can pivot to, let's say, vacations. Well, when was the last time you took a vacation or whatever? You could pivot to something like that. Or, well, what brought you to the area? Oh, my job. Well, tell me about your work. What do you do? That's a pivot. All right. So a lot of times guys will find something of interest. Like, for example, let's say you open a girl and you're talking about her puppy, and then you're never transitioning out of the puppy conversation. And so that's a skill set you need to develop. All right. So you kind of recognize if this conversation is going a little bit too long about puppies and if it needs to pivot to something different. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you she's throwing you interest or demonstrating investment by having a good conversation with you, let's say. And so then maybe you say, yeah, like, well, it's a cute dog, perfect dog for a cute girl, wink face, so when you're not taking care of her, what else are you up to? For example, I just pivoted out of the dog conversation. Went ahead and threw her a compliment about being cute, which sexualizes things a little bit. It reminds her I'm not here just to talk about her dog. I'm here to make a sexual connection as well. And, if you're following my format, I didn't start with a compliment. I got investment from her. So from a position of power, maybe I use that compliment to transition. So that's pivoting, and you got to get good at doing that because that keeps these conversations going and it drags her more into that conversation where she becomes more curious and interested and invested. And then that's when you can start building a little bit of fantasy. You know what I mean? So that's where you go from, When was the last time you took a vacation? Gosh, I don't know. I think it was last year. It's been so long. Oh, well, it sounds like you need a break. Maybe a mini escape with a hot dude and a bottle of wine, right? Pivot into now, right? Building fantasy, right? Being out with somebody, having an escape, killing a bottle of wine, or maybe we'll go rob a bank together, right? And do something crazy, right? It's you're not really going to rob a bank. It's a fantasy, but then it brings out like this whole Bonnie and Clyde fantasy thing that she might get to joke around about. Do you see what I'm saying? Or, maybe you could take a risk and see if you, are going to end up having a relaxing time, or if you're going to end up buried in my woods. I wouldn't say that out of nowhere, but if we're having a good banter, right, and some jokes about, sometimes, I don't know why I get jokes about serial killer all the time, because I'm somebody that could probably instill some fear, you know what I mean? So, it dissipate those fears through humor, you know what I mean? Fears of meeting up with a stranger, especially a stranger with maybe, physical power, you know what I'm saying? And so, you can joke around about that stuff, but point is learning how to pivot is an important skill set. And so when you're talking to a girl via text or even in person, if you notice a conversation deadening out, you want to transition into another topic or another thing. So last point about pivoting is sexualizing the conversation. So a lot of times you can say something that is overtly directly sexual, but then you give a comment right afterwards in text. So you can double text this, and this is a technique. What this does is it's part of the push pull, right? So you're building sexual tension, but you have to deliver some comfort too. Too much tension, and she might get creeped out and start to become sexually closed, start getting too nervous. The idea is you build enough tension to open her up sexually. There's a video I did on social calibration, and you want to look at that matrix that I had, seduction matrix, where you have tension on the one end of it, comfort on the other, sexually open on the top quadrant, and then the bottom quadrant is sexually closed, right? And so you want to move her in this push-pull to the tension and open side of it. And then pivoting can help you do that. For example, maybe she says something about, yeah, it's been a lot, you've been busy this week. Sounds like you're under some stress. Maybe I say that. She's like, yeah, I could use a little relief. And then maybe I say, yeah, I got something to relieve your stress. Wink face. That's sexual, right? So let's say I do that. She opened it. I say, I got something to relieve your stress. Wink face. And then I go, what kind of food do you like? All right. And another text. So right there, if I haven't had sexual banter with her yet, and she's maybe opening it up a little bit, but what I'll do is I can do a double text like that. And so I pivot it into, here's the sexual comment. I got something to relieve your stress, right? And then what kind of food do you like? So pivoted from sexual back down to food, all right? And so she has a choice now. She can respond to the sexual comment, or she can ignore it, or she can respond negatively. As long as she doesn't respond negatively, I'm good to keep going and even escalating the sexual banter, all right? And that undertone of sexual tension in the conversation, I can continue with that. So let's say she goes, oh, sushi is my favorite food. Well, then I can move to a close maybe and say, good, sushi, my place. When are you free? Right? And then some stress, and I might say some stress relief and some sushi. When are you free? Right? So there we go. She didn't say anything about the stress relief, but now maybe she'll say it and she goes, yeah, maybe then she goes, oh, I bet you look like a man. You look like you could really reduce my stress. And then now she's opening up. Maybe I say, yeah, maybe reduce your stress in a very intense way. It's okay though. We'll get to know each other first. So now I'm already moving it into sex, right? And then it can even convert into something overtly sexual. You know what I mean? And so that's how we can use pivoting to open that sexual discussion up. You know what I mean? So, we could something like whatever. Maybe it's like, I can't wait till it gets hotter out or something. And you're like, yeah, I think we can heat things up sooner than that. Wink face, right? Something like that. and then maybe pivot into another thing. When was did you get to go anywhere hot over the winter, like vacation, question mark. So I can pivot into that, and she'll just go, she might say, heat things up, like, what do you mean? Or whatever, a challenge. And then I could say, well, maybe some spanking, hair pulling, or choking, and a lot of orgasms, or perhaps a hot tub. We'll see how things go. So I could pivot into sexual banter if she challenges it like that, right? But let's say she won't challenge it, though. If she doesn't want me to move to sexual banter, she'll instead ignore the comment and then stick to, oh, well, yeah, I did go to Florida, back in November. You see what I'm saying? So if she's not comfortable yet being that sexually open and maybe a little tense, she'll move into the conversation about Florida and not address the I bet you why don't we heat things up soon, or something like that, whatever my comment was. But you get what I'm saying, right? So when you introduce sexual banter, you can use pivoting to give her the option to respond to one or the other. And if she challenges your sexual comment, or if she like gives a or a wink face, or like a, something sexual back, then that opens it for more sexual discussion. But if she doesn't address the sexual comment and maybe sticks onto the pivot comment, which is the food one, or the whatever, then you stay neutral on your sexual commentary. You don't keep pushing it sexual. You let her have a little bit of that comfort first, and then before you drop in another seductive comment in there, you know what I mean? To open it up. So that's another way to use pivoting. So I use pivoting all the time to break up that tension. If you don't know how to break up that tension and push pull properly over text, then she'll get weird and start ghosting your messages because it's too much, and she'll start to think you're creepy. All right. So that's something you guys can work on. Hopefully that made sense, right? Because I could probably show more examples, but again, not really too prepared for that today. I think I got some things going on, and I have to break. Where are we at here? Yeah. So I'm gonna have to break, unfortunately, guys. Thanks again. All right. Thanks again for the jumping on, even though it was unannounced. This is some next level stuff. Okay, good. You talk a lot about women despite you making a living beating the you talk a lot about women despite you making a living beating the Undertaker in the WWE. I know. It's really a side hustle for me, the women thing. My primary job is absolutely showing the Undertaker what's up. So thanks again, guys, for the support and jumping on. Hopefully you guys are getting some value out of the content. I think that's definitely evident, though, by all the compliments, comments, and people that are jumping in my emails, people with more stuff here. I'll look at one more question here. What do you think about using hookers to practice sexual skills? Ooh, well, I think that a better way to do it is to not use hookers. All right. Unless she is, that's a really weird, not weird, but kind of a tough one. I think that, see, the thing about sexual skill, man, is a lot of that's up in here. And I'm going to cover that. I'm going to have a whole module on sex. All right. So Sterling Cooper, which I endorse him, he does a great job on the technique, on the actual mechanics of sex, right? And some of the psychology gets introduced into it with the mechanics. But the reality is her orgasms and her arousal is happening between her brain. Okay. And so in that module, I'm going to discuss that. We'll get deep into that portion of it. But it's better, in my opinion, to do it with a plate and to explore sexually with that girl. Or a series of girls, because you're not in a solid, it doesn't matter if you screw up, right? It's not a big deal, And so train and rehearse things on your own. In other words, on your own time with yourself, if you can catch my drift, and sort of train your sexual abilities there and research on the mechanics, and then try it and explore it with a partner. The reason why is because a hooker is going to try to make you feel like she's being pleased by you. You know what I mean? She's going to sell it to you because she wants you to return and buy her again and use her again, right? And so like a hooker is just really, she's going to, it's like a stripper. It's like practicing, game on a stripper. Now there is such a thing as stripper game, but strippers, hookers, sex workers, they're designed to use their very good skills at female manipulation, essentially, to make you feel like they have genuine burning desire for you, to make you feel like something feels good or is right. And so you're using some paid person, a paid prop. Well, even on OnlyFans or not OnlyFans, even on Seeking Arrangements, if you end up paying a sugar, being a sugar daddy and paying some girl, she's going to sell it to you. She's going to make you think that the genuine desire is there. She's going to she'll fake her orgasms. Do you know what I mean? She's going to make you feel like you're really doing a good job. And the reality is you might not be. And so it's much better to have a willing partner that you could screw up with. And she's going to let you know, essentially, that doesn't feel right, or that's not working. And that's okay, dude. That's okay, because that's how you learn. All right. So learning on a hooker, that's like saying, am I going to learn sex from porn? Well, there's some value and some things you can get off of it, but you have to be able to differentiate, right, what's fake and what's real. And that's the problem you'll have if you don't have the experience sexually, which if you're thinking about using a prostitute to practice skills, then that clearly indicates you don't have the experience. You're not going to recognize the difference between what's real and what's not, what's genuine, what isn't. You have a hard time with that, so unless she's some sort of sexual counselor or surrogate or something, which I don't know of any of that stuff really too much, I would find a willing partner. All right. So thanks for all the questions again, guys. I got to bounce. Thanks for the support. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm almost at 10,000 subscribers, so I'm hoping I can make that announcement later today. So if you're new to the channel, new to the chat, whatever, throw on a subscription. Help me out a lot. We'll hit 10,000. We can all celebrate. All right. Thanks again, guys. Take care.